Welcome in. We got week 2 of college football on the radar starting tonight. We got games of Louisville at UCF and Boise State at New Mexico. With that being said, we got our top 10 games of the week, and I'm going to try to make this week a little bit quicker with coverage so it's not as long of a video, so I'm going to kind of condense my reviews and overviews of the games, but let's get right into it. At 10 on our top 10 game list, we have Wake Forest at Vanderbilt. These schools have met 16 times, actually, with Vandy leading the series 10-6, and the current streak is 3 wins from Vandy, but the last time they played was 2013, and Vanderbilt is a lot different program than under the last regime. ESPN FPI gives Wake a 62% chance to win, and Hartman is back, baby. Sam Hartman will be playing college football tomorrow. I am so hyped. I want this dude to come in and throw for like 7 touchdowns. Sorry, Vanderbilt, in the undefeated season going so far, but if this Wake offense operates like it normally does, then there's no way Vandy can keep up in this football game. A shootout is literally the last thing Vanderbilt would want because Hartman will pick apart this defense with his eyes closed. You could blindfold him and he'd throw touchdowns. Wake's run defense is not all that, so Vandy will be able to have the chance to establish the run, and they'd be able to stop Wake's run. They got the size. They got a good enough scheme on defense to be able to hang with that. However, the strength of the offense for Wake Forest is behind the arm of number 10. And can anyone on Vanderbilt actually cover Perry? That'll be the question. But if we're going to talk about Vandy, are we getting week 0 Vandy, the Hawaii Vandy, or are we getting week 1 Vandy, the team that still was okay, but you played Elon and it was a little shaky. However, Mike Wright will need to have the game of his career. So far, no turnovers, and he will have to air the ball out eventually when needed. Vanderbilt needs to burn the clock and control the run in this game to even have a chance. But with that being said, my prediction is Wake Forest winning this game 45-24. Hartman train, we're back, baby. Hartman for Heisman. All right, let's get into 9. We got Virginia at Illinois. This will be the 4th meeting between the two, and Illinois leads the series 2-1. But UVA won last season, and Illinois' 2 wins came in 1999 and 1990, both of those matchups being bowl games. ESPN FPI gives Illinois a 66.4% chance to win. Brennan Armstrong, he's going to have to take control of the game and the skies in this matchup. The Illinois run defense will be able to hold up and keep UVA most likely one-dimensional throughout this ball game. Illinois will control the clock. They want to make you play their style of smash-mouth football, which is what seems to be the current game plan with Chase Brown in the backfield. Dude is a stud. Eliminate the deadgum turnovers you had like you did against Indiana, and you would have won. I think there was like 4. I mean, you just can't give the ball over to Virginia in this game with Brennan Armstrong back there at quarterback. He can pick you apart. That offense may just carve down the field on Illinois if they cannot generate a respectable pass rush. So, Illinois, establish the run, chew clock, let Chase Brown do his thing. Don't make stupid turnovers, make the throws you have to. Now, for Virginia, almost the same thing. Don't turn the ball over. You never want to turn the ball over. But give Brennan Armstrong time, and he can win you this game. You have the receivers. Your offensive line can hold up some, but my prediction in the end is Illinois winning this thing in a close one, 30-24. Next, let's get to a group of 5 level team against an independent. This game is huge, and I will explain that in a second. This is only the second meeting between UAB and Liberty, with Liberty winning the first matchup last year in Birmingham. ESPN FBI gives UAB a 55.9% chance to win. This game is huge for UAB as their schedule becomes very workable, and their toughest game is at home against UTSA until the late week trip to LSU in week 11. If UAB can get past this tricky away game, the gates open up for an amazing season for UAB. Yes, Bill Clark is no longer there, but he established the foundation. This is a dang good football team at the group of 5 level, and if they can get past Hugh Freeze and his offense, they can do something magical this year. Liberty still has some tough games remaining as well, so they really need to win this game. This is a big one for them. After surviving the coattails last week in a 4-overtime game against Southern Miss, they need all the wins they can get, considering they still have Wake Forest with Hartman back, BYU, Arkansas, and Virginia Tech still on the schedule. Now, Virginia Tech, that one could become workable after what we saw last week. UAB is definitely the more complete team in this game, and there's no more Malik Willis magic for the Flames. The only Flames we'll see in this game, I believe, are in Williams Stadium, will come from the Blazers. Give me UAB 35-20. Now let's move on to South Carolina at Arkansas. These two schools have met 23 times, with Arkansas leading the series 13-10. South Carolina is on a 3-game win streak in the series, with the last game being played in 2017, and ESPN FPI gives Arkansas a 73.4% chance to win. I'm not going to spend too much time on this game because I'm high on Arkansas in this matchup. I mean, I know South Carolina is not going to be as bad as they were last week, but my goodness, thank the Lord for special teams if you're a Gamecocks fan, because that game got tricky, and I think SEC teams now know, let's not play Georgia State. That's the team that we don't want to schedule anymore, and North Carolina gets the luck of going to play them at Georgia State this week, so good luck, Tar Heels. Arkansas, back to this game. Arkansas is better on both the lines, and this game, that's going to matter. That's going to be everything. The run game establishing it will be this game. Georgia State was able to get to Rattler, and he did not shine too well, and I cannot imagine what Arkansas's defense will do. KJ and the Hogs, I think, will establish this run game and settle in fine and not have to open up the passing portion of their playbook too much, to be honest. I think the physicality is just going to overbear on South Carolina. Arkansas will smack you in the mouth. I just don't think South Carolina is going to be able to keep up. Unless Rattler becomes Anthony Richardson in Fayetteville, like he was last week, I don't see this happening for South Carolina. Give me Arkansas 31-17. Now let's go down to Lubbock. 25 Houston at Texas Tech. Actually, Houston leads this all-time series 18-14 with one tie. Tech has won 4 straight games in the series. ESPN FBI gives Tech a 65.6% chance to win, which surprises me with their starting QB out, but at the same time, it kind of doesn't. Just the difference level and the way Houston kind of looked last week. I mean, Houston had a rough game to kind of start the season, and they had a lot of mistakes. I don't think they're going to be the same team that we saw last week in the thriller against UTSA. It was just getting the rust off, I think, for the machine of Houston was what they had to do, and you're playing a tricky opponent like UTSA. Week 1, things can get dicey. Tech does have to play their backup QB with Shaw out for at least 2 weeks. However, Houston's secondary was not that great last week, so I believe the backup Donovan Smith will be able to toss around some on the Cougars. This will be a close game, though. I believe whatever QB steps up the most in this game will end up leading their team to victory. And the QB I'm going with is the backup Donovan Smith for the Red Raiders. My prediction, close one. Texas Tech wins 38-31. Now, let's get to the battle for the Cy-Hawk Trophy. Iowa State at Iowa. This is looking like the year for Iowa State, maybe. Maybe. Iowa leads the all-time series 46-22 and is on a 6-game win streak. ESPN FPI gives Iowa State a 58.5% chance to win. This is the year to end the losing streak, I was saying, for Iowa State. Just don't turn the deadgum ball over a billion times like you did last year, and I think you can win this game. Iowa, while still talented, is shaky on the line, and I think Iowa State's defense can hold the Iowa offense down, which is slower than a tortoise. However, Iowa's defense is the strength of this team, and they are good. If Iowa State can get past 21 or more points, I think they can win this game. For Iowa, your defense is going to have to be your savior. Not just this Saturday, but a lot this year. And they can be this week, but you have to help them out on offense. The thing is, last year, Iowa created a ton of turnovers against Iowa State. And this was looking like the Iowa State team that was going to beat the world. And Iowa just nailed them down. They forced the turnovers. And I don't even think Iowa had over like 175 yards of offense last year. So it's possible to win this game without as much offense. But it's still doable. This is also a game where nothing ever tends to go right for Iowa State. I mean, recently in the past few years, even with their best teams, it hasn't worked out well. This environment is going to be rocking, and I'm going with the home team. Give me Iowa 20-17. Now we move on to Kentucky at Florida. Florida leads the all-time series 53-19, and Kentucky has a streak of 1 in this series. But in the last 4 years, it is 2-2, so we got a split in the last 4 years. ESPN FBI gives Florida a 54.8% chance to win. I'm not surprised after last week and home field advantage. Florida looks pretty good. However, the jump to 12 was surprising, but it is after week 1, and overreactions are always insanity this time of year. Not taking anything away from Florida. That was a huge win, incredible win for Napier. But I'm just saying, 12? That's quite the jump. I don't want to overhype the Gators and kind of bring them back down to earth when they never were really in space. But Florida's back in the swamp, the loudest stadium in the country, and this week will play a huge factor again. If I'm Kentucky, I want to make Anthony Richardson beat me through the air. Kentucky has the defense to compete, but They cannot let Anthony Richardson control the tempo of this ball game, and they have to contain him. You have to contain him. Now, Will Levis, first trip to the Swamp, he will need to lead this offense and play their blue-collar style of football. I do think for Kentucky to win this game, Levis is going to have to get out of his comfort zone a little bit, make a few crazy plays, and make something happen, which he does have the capability to do. Strong guy, he can do it. You got to control the clock as well. Control the clock, keep the ball out of Anthony Richardson's hands. Play your style of football, and Kentucky, you can win this ball game. With that being said, the Gators will most likely be doing the same thing as I said for Kentucky. The run game will most likely not be useful this week again for Kentucky, and they will have to make they want Levis to beat them. Florida can stop the run. Both these teams are going to try to make the opposing quarterback win the football game. Put it in his hands to throw the ball. This is very similar to the Texas Tech-Houston game, in my opinion. Whichever QB shows out the most and takes care of the football will lead their team to victory. My prediction, Florida wins 28-27 in another close game in the Swamp, and Anthony Richardson becomes even more of the talk of the college football world. Now, the game that should be hyped up, as I said in the preseason, you have Alabama going to Texas. One Bama's coming to town. This is the perfect preview headline. Like, it's just glorious for any media outlet or network. Bama at Texas, blah, blah, blah. Yes. Texas leads the all-time 7-1 with one tie, and Bama won the last matchup in their previous national championship meeting. Before we get ahead of ourselves with that all-time being lopsided, Texas's last win was in 1982. So these programs have not really played at all in the, modern era of football, and ESPN FPI gives Bama an 81.8% chance to win. Okay, here we go. The breakdown of this game. To be a Nick Saban-led Alabama team in this dynasty, you have to establish the run, and you gotta be physical. Establish it, be physical. You have to win the turnover battle. No matter what, you got to win the turnover battle or have some weird turnover. You have to have an insanely lucky play or momentum wild boosting play, and someone has to step up big time. Someone has to have the game of their career. Let's look last year. Zach Calzada, game of his career. Even with him having the game of his career, we had a turnover in the end zone from Bryce Young to Texas A&M. There's that turnover, creating a good turnover. And then when Bama looked like they were coming back, Texas A&M had that crazy kickoff return for a touchdown. And they were able to establish the run, which opened the play-action pass, which had Weidermeyer a lot on the tight end being open last year. Alabama, on the road. They did lose the A&M game. However, they won the other games. They had to do what they did what they had to do to win those games. They are shaky on the road, but I don't think this Texas team is the team to do it. Quinn Ewers is going to have to play like a Heisman candidate, and while that's happening, like I said, you're going to have a crazy game from Bijan, most likely, a wide receiver play his absolute best, have a weird turnover, and most likely some special teams play or some crazy turnover that turns into a touchdown. But I'm done ranting on that game. I don't think it's going to be close. Alabama's going to put the cleats on Texas's throat. Sark is going to get steamrolled. My prediction, Alabama wins 49-20, and that 20 might even be a late touchdown score by Texas. Now, let's get into Tennessee at Pitt. This will be the fourth meeting between these schools, with Pitt winning all three previous matchups, and the most previous was last year, as we know. All three of the previous games were actually played in Knoxville, 1980, 1983, and 2021. So Tennessee will be taking its first visit to Pittsburgh this year. ESPN FPI gives Tennessee a 54.1% chance to win, which is actually pretty close. I was expecting to see a little bit more, but I believe that Slovis performance helped Pitt for ESPN. Tennessee is going to score points, and Slovis and the Pitt offense will have to keep up, and they can. Tennessee needs to take notes from West Virginia and be as physical as possible, as early as possible, up front with Pitt. This Tennessee front will be a lot different for Pitt, but they have the experience to handle this team. They played them last year. They get the difference. I think we get a close, maybe to an insane shootout territory, but I'm not sure. And we may not see much running games, in my opinion, from either of these squads. Tennessee should be able to pick apart the secondary with Hooker. This secondary is not that talented, and West Virginia's offense stepped up more than I think they really were. Or JT Daniels kind of elevated those receivers' play. These receivers are going to be a lot different, these Tennessee receivers. Tillman, stud. Hooker will find Tillman as much as he wants against this secondary, I think. Compared to West Virginia, it's not the same. Tennessee's going to rack up yards, but I think Pitt may first force a turnover or two, but they just can't keep up. So this week, I'm rocking with Rocky Top. My prediction is Tennessee wins 41-35. Now let's get into my game of the week. 9 Baylor at 21 BYU. These schools have only met 3 times, with Baylor leading the series 2-1, and they defeated BYU in Waco last season. Baylor has only been to Provo once in 1984, and they lost that trip. Now, it's been a long time since they've played there, but this is going to be one of the best environments in a long time in Provo. I see BYU fans just creating insanity. ESPN gives Baylor a 57.6% chance to win. This game on the line of scrimmage is going to be absolute heaven. I cannot wait to see the Baylor D-line take on the BYU O-line and vice versa. Baylor's defense is good enough to keep BYU in check and dare them around a little bit in the playbook. BYU, however, has the offensive front to push people around and punch you in the mouth, and this may be one of, if not the best line the Bears see all year. This game is going to be amazing, and I believe both teams will keep it simple and not force the ball around too much. Both QBs shaping in a hole will need to just kind of take care of the ball and make the throws they need to make and control the offense and let it rest and do everything else you need to do. I think whoever establishes the run game in this first will end up winning this game. However, both teams are stout enough on defense to create enough issues and problems to bring them back into the game if need be. I mean, Baylor's defense has forced a turnover, I believe, in 23 straight games. That's incredible. I expect a dogfight in what will be one of the most smash-mouth games of the year. With that being said, I'm going with my preseason pick in this game, and my prediction is BYU wins 31-27 on a late touchdown drive. That's all the games we got this week. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed content by the fan for the fan. Let's get ready of week 2 for college football, baby. Thanks for listening.